Hello, everyone. Welcome to 8-Bit Versus. I'm Popey. That's Wimpy up there. You can tell that by the little name thing down here somewhere. And we're going to play some old 8-bit retro computer games.
Woohoo!
How you doing, Martin? Everything
Yes,
okay?
very well. Looking forward to this one.
Good. Yes, this was my choice. Last time we did Delta, which was Martin's choice. This time it's my choice. And this time we're going to be playing, as you can see over on the side there, Chase HQ, which was something I played in the arcades a lot as a kid. Did you ever play it in the arcades, Martin?
I was aware of it. I didn't play it a whole lot, so I love racing games, driving games, but I like.
That's why I thought you might have played it.
Yeah, I know. I feel like you've picked this one specially for me, which is why I'm looking forward to it. But I really like the racing aspect more than anything, and so I did play this. But the whole having to pull people over didn't interest me as much as some of the other races. So I'm aware of it, but I didn't play it very much at the time.
Right.
And I didn't have this either
You like being
on the home computers.
You like being the naughty guy rather than the policeman, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to play this, as always, with 8-Bit Versus. I'm a massive Spectrum fan, and Martin is, unfortunately, a Commodore fan.
It's true.
And I will be playing the Commodore version, and Martin will be playing the Spectrum version. And first up, because this is my choice, Martin gets to play the Spectrum version first. So if you want to get notified of these things, as always, follow us on all the usual places, and then you'll see videos pop up all over the place. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, everywhere. We're 8-Bit Versus everywhere, as you can see if you scroll down on Twitch or if you scroll down on YouTube or wherever. Should we get the tapes out and start loading the Spectrum version for you to play?
I'll get this loaded because I'm looking forward to having a play. And here we are, all loaded.
So, this is Chase HQ on the Sinclair Spectrum. Now, you'll notice the fabulous audio going on here. We're loading the 128K version of Chase HQ. There's a few differences between the 48K and the 128K version. One difference is this glorious music. And one of the other differences is on the 48K version, it has such little storage that once you set the controls, you can't change them. You can't switch to a different set of controls. And it's a multi-loader as well. Well, I mean, you can turn your computer off and on again and reload the game to change the controls. But while you're playing it, once you set the controls, that's the controls you're using. But we're using the 128K version where I don't think that problem occurs. So the premise of this game is, you can see from the red and blue lights, you are the cops. You're the cops equipped with a Porsche 928 Turbo.
Brilliant.
And Nancy is at HQ, and she's going to give you information about which perps you need to go after. So you need to drive, and the controls are accelerate is forward, decelerate is back, and you change gear with the fire button. And you only got two gears, low and high. It's a very custom that only has 2 gears, low and high. And if you look at the top of the screen, there's a timer for how long you've got to get the perk. You've got to chase him down, hence the name Chase HQ. And the distance is how far you are from that perk.
Okay.
Now, there's also a turbo button. If you hit space, it does a turbo, but you don't want to use that. There's a little indicator in the bottom left-hand corner, which is how many turbos you've got, and you get 3. But you don't want to use a turbo until you're right on top of him, because you'll just waste it otherwise. So I would just accelerate as fast as you can, change up, and then maybe change down on the corners and see if you can get the guy. Every so often you'll get an arrow that will tell you whether to go, because the road switches a bit like Outrun, where the road forks.
Right.
You get an arrow that tells you whether to go left or right, which is the fastest way to get to. They end up at the same place, but it's the fastest way to get to the perk.
All right then.
You ready?
I guess so.
Hit enter, and it will ask you your input.
Right, I've got.
I assume you're going to use a joystick,
of course.
Right. And then you press the fire button to start, and then you push forward. Now this is Nancy telling you she's at HQ, and that's her picture in the top right. Beautiful, beautiful, an intelligent and erudite woman, and she's talking about someone fleeing towards the suburbs. Vehicle is a white British sports car, which you're seeing in the bottom. That great rendition of a white
yellow
British sports car. Don't worry about it. And then go.
Okay.
So while you drive, I'll check in with the chat. Hello, everyone in the chat. Hello to McPhail, Big Calm, Tuxeramus, Jill, Bitin. Hello, Bitin. Yes. Some people have pointed out this is very similar to other games. Some have pointed out it's a poor man's version of Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge, or very much like Miami Vice. So I used to play this in Aldershot. You're in Aldershot, I should say. You're in low gear, by the way.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid those.
Oh, you're being a careful driver there.
Well,
I should also mention that I haven't. I don't think I mentioned very clearly. There's a time limit.
Ah, right.
So you have to get to the.
No points for being a careful driver in this game, then.
Not really, no. But the problem is it slows you down. If you bump into other cars, or you go off, you slow down. And the best thing to do is change down a gear, hit accelerate, and then change up when you get to like 170, 180, or thereabouts. Nancy. If you keep messing around like that, your time is going to run out.
Is Nancy not happy with me?
Well, I think what she's doing is trying to highlight the fact that this is a time pressure game.
Right.
I mean, obviously it was in the arcade, so it was one of those things where you have to chuck coins in to get more time. I think you will actually get a chance to continue if you want to, rather than restart.
Okay,
so push
let's
the gear,
go for that then.
You can carry on and keep going. Drop into low, hit go, and away you go. Now you'll notice you're still 140 things. The distance doesn't give you any like unit of measure. How are you feeling so far?
I'm feeling like I just getting a sense of the controls. You know, where. Oh, hello. What does this mean? It means, is this the person? Right.
That is the person. You're better off hitting the side of him than the back of him, because you get more hits on the side, and you'll notice there's a hit meter on the left hand side.
Oh, there it is. Right. Okay.
That's going up as you're hitting the guy. And the more you hit him, but hit him on the side if you can. And if he gets away from you,
you said something about using turbos when I'm near him.
If you're getting away, if he's getting away from you, you can hit space.
Right.
And you'll hear that gorgeous turbo whine, ish. If you stove into the side of him, you'll knock him off the road. There are 5 levels. This is just level 1. Nancy's very useful. That's it. Keep stuffing it on. It's actually a pretty hard game. So, interestingly, this was developed on an Atari ST. The Atari ST Mega, apparently.
How was this
using
developed
some-
on an ST? As in,
Yeah,
typing the code
and
in,
then,
and then sending it
yeah,
over?
as in, the code was created on an ST,
Right.
and then downloaded to the Spectrum. I think it was made by, it was one of the Ocean games, and I think they had their own dev kit built on the Atari ST. In fact, this was the best-selling game, to give you timeline, this was the best-selling game in 1989 Christmas. So almost exactly 30 years ago, this was the best-selling game at Christmas.
Right. Oh, yeah, wrong gear.
It's quite a way away, so you might want to... Oh, have you restarted?
I've just restarted, yeah. I thought whilst
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
getting up
don't-
to speed
yeah,
with the
don't-
controls and what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, that's not them, is it? So, they're quite a long way away now, but
It is a
once my
tough
siren
game.
starts blaring, it stays on, so I can't assume that everything
Yeah, it looks like it.
over the horizon is them.
If you've got a sharp corner where the little signposts, you're better off dropping down a gear, keeping the joystick forward,
Yeah,
and then up a gear when you get past the corner,
okay.
rather than braking. It's a better way to do it. There he is. So I used to play this in Aldershot. There were two arcades in Aldershot. One at the what we call the top of town, and another one opposite Spudulike. The one at the top of town was much bigger and had loads of games in it. And the one opposite Spudulike was called Slots. And Slots was quite compact, and it had
Hang on, where is it?
slot machines at the start. So you had to walk past all these old men smoking and using the fruit machines to get to the arcade machines at the back, and they're all really jammed in the back of there. But this one was in the one at the top of town, and it was right by the window. I remember standing playing Chase HQ, looking out the window to some village green in Aldershot at the top of town. It's a tough game, but there are only 5 stages, so it couldn't be super easy because you've got to.
Yeah.
You gonna have another go?
Oh, yeah. Okay, is Nancy going to tell
I
me
like
the
the
same
VU
thing I
meters,
already know?
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Can I move
Ralph,
on?
the Idaho slasher.
The Idaho
Let's go,
slasher.
Mr. Driver. Did you hear the speech there?
I did hear the speech, yes.
Bit of speech. Don't get that in many 8-bit games.
Well,
Actually,
maybe
that's
that
a-
was true on the
that's a question.
Spectrum, but I can think of many on the Commodore 64.
Right. Where did they store it? Because it didn't have a lot of storage.
No,
I don't know where they store
indeed.
those voices.
I mean, they were pretty low. Oh, I've gone the wrong way.
Oh, that's okay. You can still go this way. It just takes you a little bit longer.
Oh, well, that's not good.
So your time is more of a pressure now. So I noticed in playing some games that some aren't very good at doing this feeling of the world coming towards you while you're playing a driving game.
Yeah,
And some of them, it's just empty void either side, and all you see is the stripes either side of the road that kind of make you give you some indication that the road is moving. But this one actually, you've got
yeah, it has a
road
sense of
furniture.
momentum.
and up and down. Oh, that, by the way, that tunnel, that's the biggest sprite in the entire game. The game has up to 30 sprites on screen at once. But on average, I think there's like 20.
Is this done with
And the-
sprites, this on the Spectrum?
Well, they have sprites, and they have a software sprite renderer, not a hardware sprite renderer. Like the Commodore.
Yeah, but I
So
mean,
everyone
are
had
they
to
not
write
just
their own
doing
sprite
page
routines.
flipping for something like this?
Well, yeah, but they've got to keep track of a certain number of objects on screen, and I'm saying there were 30 maximum that their sprite engine could cope with, and 20 was typically what was on screen.
Right. So there's
Great.
things about this that are reminiscent of Outrun.
Oh, yes. very much so.
But this game came out in the arcades a lot later than Outrun, right?
Yeah, what was Outrun? Like 85, something like that?
may have been earlier. Yeah, about that. It was mid-80s. I can't remember. If someone in chat knows.
Yeah, go look up Outrun on...
oh, right. Where are they? There they are.
Right. Sighting the target.
So my timer resets. So I have 60 seconds from the time at which my... Oh, gears.
You first sight him, yeah.
Yeah.
And in the arcade, the cabinet had a red and blue light on top that would flash once you got within sight of the perk.
I've just noticed that the red and blue light are flashing in the game as well.
Yes.
And
they've done the same thing we've noticed on some other games where like 2/3 of the screen is used for game and about 1/3 used for UI.
Yeah. I wonder if that's to keep the amount of area it needs to draw to a minimum so that it actually
I would expect so.
I mean,
I've seen games that use only 1/3 of the screen and like the top and bottom are just black void and you've got a letterbox game. But you got to do what you got to do because you've got a Z80 at whatever
3.5
number of megahertz, 3 point whatever, yeah. So you've got to make compromises somewhere.
I'm terrible at this. I wonder how many frames this is actually running at.
What, on a real Spectrum?
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Well, it's not 60. We know that.
No, it's definitely not 60. I would reckon that's what, 5, something like that. Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess once we play the video back, you can see how many frames you're getting in any second.
Yes, we would be able to work it out. That's true.
So there's interesting. There's cheats that give you more time on the Spectrum. Interestingly, the Spectrum and the CPC version, you have to hold down the fire button and type the word "shocked." But the Commodore 64 version, you hold down the fire button and type the word "growler" for some reason. I don't know why.
Right.
But
and what's
the
that
cheats
do?
are different. It allows you to have more time. So
right.
The time pressure is gone with that cheat.
I have to say, I'm finding the obstacle vehicles to be the most challenging part of this game.
Right.
They seem to be very obstinate about...
In your way.
Yes. Here comes a police car. I'm going to drive in front of the police car with its
despite
sirens.
the fact he's got his lights going.
Yeah. Got the blues and twos going, and they feel that's appropriate time to change lanes.
So Bittins dug out that Outrun came out 1986 in the arcade.
Right.
So this is on the Spectrum and Commodore. This would have come out some
3 years
after,
later.
Then again, obviously, Chase HQ
Yeah.
would have been out before this. Apparently, this took 6 months to write the home computer version.
Yeah, it's astonishing how quickly they turned around these games back in the day.
Oh, Outrun on the Spectrum was 1987. So this is 2 years later than Outrun on the 8-bit micros.
Game over.
Yeah, McPhail points out the maths of writing to the Spectrum screen works best by dividing it into thirds. And you'd know that if you ever watched a Spectrum loading screen, where it loads the first third of the screen, and then the next third, and then the next third, and then fills in the colours. Because if you write to memory linearly, that's the way it does it. You get the top third, the middle third. I don't know why they did it like that, but that's the way the memory is mapped.
Yeah, so Bitten points out this is sort of a predecessor to Need for Speed. And we've said this a few times, these old games from the arcades in the 80s and the 8-bit, not the home version of the arcades, but some of the 8-bit home computer games, define genres that are, continuing to this day, albeit.
Yeah, it's funny how it's only like 3D games that were a completely new genre that you just couldn't really do very easily on these 8-bit micros, and now VR is a new genre that there's no way you could do on these computers. Apparently, Martin says nobody cares. Leave a comment below if you care about VR. Cheese Bacon, hello Cheese, says the screech is hyper realistic.
hyper realistic.
Can you do another corner for me, Martin?
In a moment, yeah. I might be able
You
to.
also hear the thud as you hit those. I think they're
are these tumbleweed.
tumbleweed or yeah.
It makes the same sound as the crash barriers. So.
Well, they're very light crash barriers or very heavy tumbleweed. Maybe they're made of balsa wood.
Oh, he's miles away.
Yeah. Maybe you should waste one of your turbos.
I think I'm going to.
Oh, by the way, have you noticed
I've
the
only got
sound
15
changes when you go through the
seconds,
tunnel?
Yes, that's very good too. It's a nice bit of detail.
That's a nice touch. That's a nice touch to have like that lower noise when you're going through a tunnel than when you're out in the road. Time's running out. 6 seconds, dude. Oh man, you're never going to catch him. I mean, to be honest, I was never very good at this game. This was a joystick smashed in front of the screen kind of game. It's like, always run out of time. You got 2 credits left, so you can extend.
Yeah, I'm choosing to carry on because I'm not hideously frustrated by this yet. Those cars, they're a bit annoying.
They are annoying. I'll grant you that.
They're the biggest challenge in the game. Oh, hello. Right, is that our... What's this?
I'm quite impressed that they've got like trees that are pretty substantial size. Once they get close to you, that's like 2/3 of the screen taken up by a tree. That's it. It's in. That looks like some kind of Ferrari. Or is that a Countach, isn't it? 80s sports car. Of course it's a Countach.
So this particular...
there's
that's
another
the
one.
wrong person. Damn it.
Yeah. There's so many Lamborghinis on this road. Oh, there's another one. It's like everyone's got a Lamborghini in this game. Oh. Yeah, you really need to hit him hard. Don't forget you can turbo with the spacebar.
If I hit him with turbos going, does it do any more damage?
If you hit the side, it's better, yeah. It's just the turbo is just good for keeping close to him, so you can hit him a few times.
Well, I managed to hit him a few times. You know, there's a few things that occur to me about this tactic. If you've ever done a defensive driving course, this is a terrible tactic because as the pursuit car, you really shouldn't be, you know, ramming the front end of your car, where all of the important bits are, like the engine, into the back of what is basically a crumble zone in the vehicle that you're pursuing.
So
this car appears to be spitting out smoke, but really mine should be in bits by now because... Oh,
you only got 5 seconds left.
Oh, that's not him.
So, yeah, the goal is to really hit the side.
How'd you do that? I can't get alongside
well, you need to get
them.
alongside him and then...
Really?
You know, do the old...
Okay.
Into him. Show us how it's done, Martin. Come on.
Do I have a full complement?
Yeah, Tuxeramus is pointing out this is actually one of those games that's easier to play on keyboard.
You are all animals. Will you stop trolling me with your keyboard nonsense? It's such an obvious troll.
Just to be clear, when I get a chance to play this game, I will be playing on God's own keyboard, the Sinclair 48K Spectrum rubber keyboard.
So alongside, you say? Was that alongside? That doesn't seem to do a whole lot either way. Oh, that was a bit better. I see what you mean. Okay.
I'll tell you what is annoying is that siren after a little while. It's probably in your ears, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
It's tremendously hard, isn't it?
it'd be easier if those flipping things weren't in the road.
This is one of those games that, when I looked at it in magazines, the pictures of the arcade version, so much colour, and the ease of being able to see, like there was a gradient you could see at the top of the skyline. There's like the mountains, and then there's a secondary blue colour. In the arcade version, there was like 6 different shades of blue leading up to the sky. It was really, really pretty.
So I have to say, I mean, it's obviously, broadly speaking, monochrome graphics, but there is enough detail there to convey. I haven't stopped playing. I don't know if you've noticed. Right.
Yeah, it can't be that bad.
No, I
Well,
feel
driving
like
game, which is your forte.
I feel like I've got a good game in me somewhere. I just haven't found it yet.
So the different levels look
those things
slightly different. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, the only thing is that those cars, the obstacle cars, they jump from middle distance to you've smashed into them.
Yes.
Without sort of much in the way of a transition.
Yes, there is a little bit of that. And the mention that was made earlier of the similarity between this and Outrun, there are some of the courses that look very much like the undulating hills and the like stone bridges that are on the left-hand turn of the first level of Outrun. There's a bit of that in this, and so there is a lot of similarity between this and Outrun. But then that's going to be the case, you know, a game where your only goal is to drive basically as fast as possible.
Oh, it's miles
across
away.
The landscape. Oh, you're using a turbo, man.
Well, I've only got 20 seconds to get to him.
Ah.
And he's like...
Maybe you want to consider using the keyboard next time.
Over my dead body. There is no good reason.
It's hilarious that whole... You use the Commodore from the start, which obviously had a joystick port.
2 joystick ports, in fact.
Well, yes. 2 joystick ports. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wrong.
So
gear.
I noticed at no point have you said you don't want to play this anymore.
No, there are frustrating elements to this, but you know, there's gameplay to be had here. Those things though.
I think it's one of those things you really have to like change lanes super fast when you see them coming. Bitin is mentioning they're enjoying the videos, so
thanks for that,
thank you very much, Bitin. Also, hello to Esk77. Hello. Oh, and Drew. Hello, Drew.
Those trucks.
Stuart is going to ask a question, which he's prefacing with, "This is not a troll." So,
If it's about
bear that in mind.
using keyboard control, it's definitely a troll.
Does Martin not like using the keyboard because the C64 had really big keys that were hard to type on?
No, I don't.
I mean, it's a perfectly valid question.
When you were in the arcade, did you A, play Chase HQ with a joystick or a steering wheel, or a keyboard?
Did your Commodore come with a steering wheel?
No, but it came with a joystick, 2 of them in fact, which is why Commodore 64 owners gravitate towards using the correct tool for the job.
Well, they use the hammer because the hammer is the only tool they were given.
The Commodore keyboard was excellent, by the way, I have to say. Oh, you little swine.
I don't think it was great for gameplay because it was quite steep and high.
Yeah, I mean, like
honestly,
I say, I really didn't use it for playing games. You know, it was great for typing on.
Right.
But you know, yeah, I mean, other than, you know, text adventures, for example, and the odd game where, you know, spell castings were, you know, scattered across the keyboard for, you know, easy access, then, you know, it was joystick all the way.
You know a game we should play sometime? Ant Attack. There's no way you can play that with a keyboard because it's got like 12 keys. So I'm going to have to squeeze that into the lineup sometime later.
That will be monster frustrating for me.
But that's the thing. I find some of these games on joystick just as frustrating. I like the fact they have these little like chicanes every so often, just to frustrate you. Come on, get him.
It seems that you whack into him and you do absolutely 0 damage. Like, just like one tiny little...
I think maybe try not hitting him. Get
Not
alongside
hitting
him. Then, yeah. Because if you're too keen to hit him, you hit him and then that slows you down. And you have to accelerate again. If you get alongside him, then you can nudge him from the side and you get a greater hit. And so you have to do it less often.
Okay. Okay, Nancy, time's up. So, given that we're playing this on the Spectrum 128, I guess they had a bit more space for fitting in those samples.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I mean, most games on the Spectrum where there was any kind of voice synthesis, that would have been on the 128. So, for example, Starglider, there's a few voices in that, but only on the 128 version. Anything that was 48k and had voice would be super scratchy. And probably the game only took up 12k anyway.
Yeah. So, do you want to have a go?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we'll quickly get that loaded then. Okay, and now it's Popey's turn. So, you're going to show us how it's done?
Well, I will play it using God's one only keyboard.
What is that? Is that a USB keyboard that looks like a Spectrum? Is that what that is?
It's a Bluetooth keyboard that looks and acts very like a Spectrum. It's called the Recreated Sinclair Spectrum.
You are a broken human being. What is wrong with you, honestly? Not even an actual.
So I'm going to define the keys. Gear, I'm going to have as M. Accelerate, Q. Brake, A, obviously. Left and right, O and P, of course. Q, A, O, P.
What is this?
Quit. I'm going to put them. I'm going to put them in the middle of the keyboard. Q, A, O, P is a common keyboard shortcut, like that. You've got up and down with that hand, left and right with that hand, fire with the thumb. I'm going to put pause as H for hold. And turbo, I'm going to have N right next to M. Okay?
Okay, you better do well after. Go on then.
Better.
Can you remember what gear is?
M. Right, listen in. Nancy's got some messages. For
Okay,
us.
okay, let's have a listen.
Got an emergency here.
Mm-hmm.
Ralph the Idaho slasher is fleeing towards the suburbs. The target vehicle is a white British sports car. I think it's supposed to be a Turbo Esprit.
Yeah. Lots of trouble, usually serious.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a bit be interesting to watch. Okay, so here you go.
Man, I've already hit one.
What's on Nancy's face? I don't know. Probably an expression of concern, Cheese. I'm wondering. I'm wondering what the Idaho slasher has been up to. Has he been nicking prams from Mothercare? Is that?
I think he's been slashing. I mean, you wouldn't be called the slasher if you weren't busy slashing. I need to go right. Down a gear.
Yeah. Good tactics. Let's go, Mr. Driver. That's a message from Nancy for you there.
Up a gear. Yeah, it's because I was in low gear. I think what she's doing there is suggesting, hey, Alan, you need to up your game. Oh, listen to those sweet tyres squealing on the Dust Bowl roads. I don't know.
So I can take in this a bit more in terms of the graphics now. It's rather well done. I mean, you know, I'm getting familiar now with, you know, what Spectrum games look like. I think we've done like half a dozen of these now.
There's a whole lot of yellow going on.
Well, yes, I mean...
we're in the tunnel. It's all gone quiet.
I expect to be blinded by yellow, cyan and magenta on a regular basis when we get these Spectrum games
I'm
out.
going to have to look at it. So if anyone has any suggestions for games that do not feature the colours yellow, magenta and cyan, just to please Martin. Oh my God, I was in low gear. What an idiot.
But, you know, it's quite good use of colour, really.
What?
Well, I'm not feeling like I suck so much anymore. That's good.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the 1989 original edition of Hot Fuzz Big Calm.
Hot Fuzz?
You know, remember the film? Simon Pegg film.
Yes.
Hey, Rocco, how you doing? So she says...
Hey, Rocco.
The Idaho slasher. Then this must be in Idaho. Yes. So... Right, I was wondering that Idaho and Tumbleweed didn't feel like they fitted together particularly well. Right, I'm watching you for tips now. So watch it. Oh, right. So you almost go by them and then. Okay. Doesn't seem to make a whole lot of difference how much damage it does, though.
Well, that's the theory. That's the algorithm.
Right. Oh, that did a lot though. That one where you went into the back there.
See stuff coming off his car?
Yes, there's stuff coming off their car. I'm surprised yours hasn't exploded. Okay, chat room, what do we think of this game? Those of you that are familiar with the arcade, how do you feel this does, you know, considering at the time, you know, this is a single Z80 running at 3.5 megahertz, and I imagine the arcade machine probably had at least half a dozen Z80s probably running at 6 megahertz each. Oh, you're doing really well. You got 19 seconds to finish wiping him out. Come on, Alan, I'm rooting for you. Come on.
Thanks.
Come on. Get that shitty little keyboard going.
He's on fire.
Yeah,
he's on fire.
Yeah, you're nearly there. Nearly all of the Spectrum colours are in the status bar. We've got green and magenta in there. I think probably looking for some red. Here comes some red. Yes, there's some red appearing. You've got 5 seconds.
You know what I need to do? I need to evoke turbo.
Oh, you've gone by him. Oh, you've done it.
Pull over, creep.
Pull over, creep. Give those prams back to mother care. That's what I say. The siren, yeah. So, well done. Oh, look, we get some nice little artwork of the perp, and I imagine our two characters.
I feel good about that.
Yeah, it was quite exciting.
It is a bit. Oh, blimey!
Have you ever got by that level before? So, like, playing on the keyboard is better. I think maybe having some.
We've got an emergency here. Game. Carlos, the New York armed robber, has been spotted.
Okay, this one's in New York.
Car. Conveniently, a yellow sports car.
That's handy. I will laugh my tits off if this is a green background.
No, it's not yellow.
They've got those two colour schemes back to back. This should have been the base colour in the last level.
Yep.
Right, okay. New York palm trees in New York. Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't aware. Okay.
No, I'm driving to New York. I'm on my way there.
On your way, you're in California.
I'm in Miami.
You're going west to east.
You can see all the. Can you see the mountains in the background?
It looks like Colorado
in Miami.
Oh, helicopter! How exciting! What does that do? This is your special investigation.
Yeah, actually,
I'm
driving from Colorado.
The target vehicle
this is the guy
has
who's turned the arrow.
Left. You're going left up ahead, Alan. Over.
Roger. Oh, God, I was in low gear. What an idiot.
Oh, that's no good. Right, so that's a bit more fun. Let's go, Mr. Driver. Right.
Driver.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of points you've got there. Well, the two main characters are men, so I guess that's.
Well, yeah, but even Ant Attack, you could choose.
This is true.
Whether you're a boy or a girl.
It's only got binary
and that predates
choices,
this game by 5 years. So 80s.
Yeah.
I have no idea where I'm going. Oh, look at that. That quietness of being in a tunnel. Oh, bugger.
The irony, Drew, is that in the first level we were after a white car, and we had a yellow road, and now in this level we're after a
Details.
we're after a yellow car on a white road. So I feel like it's a very
Look
obvious...
at the tower blocks.
Tower. Is that what? Oh, we're entering New York now. Is this the skyline, the city?
I'm not letting this guy get away. He's robber. Gotta get him.
Let's get moving, man. Yeah, change gear. You're driving like my wife, constantly in first gear.
What, in monochrome?
Okay.
I tell you what, the corners are pretty painful.
Yeah, there
we go.
There we go.
Come on then.
Which one of these many cars is he?
That's the yellow one, you fool. Right, let's turbo it. Hit it.
How did they not realise? I mean, there he is. Okay. Oh, that was... You got one whack point for that. Whatever that scale is on the side there. Come on, Alan. Here. yes, geez. It's
Listen to that turbo whine.
Okay, I think you've got some whites there. You've got 37 seconds. You've nearly got all of the white hit points.
I've got time. Come on. You can't hide from the long arm of the law.
Yeah, Sleepy. It's sleepy eyes. It's yellow in your imagination, right? Oh.
Yeah, someone pointed out to me on Telegram the other day that I should be thankful that the graphics on the Spectrum are so bad because it allows my imagination to fill in the gaps.
Yes. Push it more, Alan. That's a message from Nancy.
Okay, I'm pushing it. Punch it.
Right, you've got all the green. You've got 15 seconds. Or you're into the magentas now. 13 seconds remaining.
I've used
if you keep messing around like that, your time is going to run out. Over.
Oh, we know this. Oh, he's got away.
Yeah.
There he is. Oh, he's on fire.
Yeah, you've got a lot of whacking to do before he's pulling over, though.
Time's up.
Are they buildings?
Did you hear that very clear voice?
What was it? Sorry? No, I didn't. I couldn't make it out. What was it?
No. One more try for being a good boy.
Yeah.
Awkward. Enter your initials.
Yeah, I only made 10th place on this scoreboard.
What did I get?
7th.
Oh, that's all right. I'll take that. Ooh.
So, Drew says... Yes. Yeah, suspension of disbelief and active imagination was integral to these. Certainly for something like this. I mean, this game came out in '89, so the Spectrum and the Commodore 64 were just reaching sort of the end of their life cycle. The 16-bit systems were starting to come along. I think it's remarkable they even managed to get this going.
I love this music. It's great.
Well...
It's very happy and boppy.
I tell you what, I'm glad we've upgraded your Spectrum to the 128 because this is better than the Beeper for sure.
Right. Go on then, show us how it's done on the Commodore. Should we load up the Commodore?
Oh, right. Okay. You're not going to go again?
No, because I wouldn't want to put you to shame. I don't want to get 2 high scores above you in a row.
My God. Okay. Right.
Am I going to load the Commodore?
No, I'll load the Commodore version. It's me to go first, right?
All right. You load up.
Okay.
So this is the Commodore 64 version, right?
Well, I have observations. Shall I press a fire button and see what happens?
Yeah, I guess you're going to use joystick.
1. Okay. This is Nancy.
This is Nancy.
Chase HQ.
I notice yours, there's kind of a steering wheel on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
What looks like a stereo. So you've got more dashboard detail at the bottom.
It's
the
not.
lights at the top.
It's not as readable though.
What?
Well, I'm looking at distance and speed and time. They're not as readable as what we had at the top earlier.
I think there's less room there. There was a lot more. There was a whole third of the screen up the
I
top.
wonder if our target vehicle's going to be white this time.
It's a British sports car.
It's a white British sports car. Are you ready?
Yeah. They don't give you a picture of it though. I had a picture so I could recognise it on the streets.
Oh, it's one of these
That
games,
Skyline.
isn't it? What gear am I in?
Let's go, Mr. Driver. There's a thing on the right-hand side, which is your gear. Your high gear. I assume down is high. I think that was the tyres squealing.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, you get. By the way, you get 200 points for every car you pass. So it benefits you to not hit the cars because you get points for passing.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine that used to play this in the arcade, and they were quite good at it. And I think there's like an accumulator, so each car you pass without hitting an obstacle or another car, the points go. So it's like 200, 400, 600 until it gets to like 10,000 or something. Okay. So
now I need to point out a couple of things while you're playing. Jill has said a couple of people pointed out the colours are a bit weird, and Jill says the colours are more muted in the C64 than the Spec, and we've observed this in previous games. You're right. If you go back and look at our extensive back catalogue of games that we've played so far, all 4 of them, you'll see that the Commodore has very muted colours. But what you may not have noticed is this time Martin has tweaked the emulation. Previously we had scan lines, and that was playing havoc with the compression when we were sending the video to the internet cloud stuff. Now we've got no scan lines. I don't know if any of you have noticed. Nobody in the chat has mentioned it so far, so I don't know if anyone has, but it's meant the colours are a little bit richer and a bit more vibrant on both platforms, and I think actually it makes it easier to see. It's nice to have the scan lines. It's a cool effect, but it negatively impacts the ability for you to see what we're playing, and we don't see the same as what you're seeing. So I think it's fair that we switch that off. And
so
Martin's done some magic.
Yeah, the emulator for the 64 is really to blame for the colour. Although I would say,
Sorry.
this game, the colours. Yeah, go on.
McPhail says, I think they removed the SID chip
and
replace it with a theremin.
I mean, I've got many things to say. I'm going to have to start saying them. So what I notice is this: there was a number of games for the Commodore 64 where they were developed on the Spectrum, and they were kind of ported from the Spectrum to the Commodore 64. And this feels like one of those. First of all, the road and the scenery are a giveaway, including the colour clash at the vanishing point on the horizon. You know, this is clearly taking the assets from the Spectrum version, which were moving along at quite a lick. It is a white car, at least. I think. I hope it's that one. I hope it's this one in front of me. But so yes, I think it's, you know, one of those Spectrum port type things. I mean, like you say, the SID chip is capable of producing all of the music and speech and sound effects we heard on the Spectrum version earlier, but there's none of that. I mean, listen to this.
So I have to point out, I just noticed you did a jump, and the original author said one of their favourite sound effects is the sound of a thud when the car lands after going over a jump. So look out for that, everyone. Look out for that sound effect, or listen out for that sound effect of the car thudding when it lands. When I heard it, it went. It didn't actually.
So the other thing that I'm aware of is this is running at, I'm going to guess, 1 frame a second. It is considerably slower to refresh than the Spectrum version, and that makes I feel my control of the car and everything, I feel utterly disconnected from what's going on the screen. And I would say this is not fun. This is not a fun game at all. It looks bad, it plays bad, it sounds awful. Whoever was responsible for this, you should be ashamed of yourselves. This is a tragic.
Well, so the original author, apparently the breakdown of the code in this was 20% code, around 79% visuals, like sprite, and 1% audio.
Well, he's got the audio proportion right. If they spent 70% of their time working on the graphics, they really should be ashamed of themselves. This is dire. Look at it. Look at it. This is terrible. There was a reason why I didn't have this game back in the day, and that was because I was a subscriber to Zap64 magazine, and when it was reviewed, this was panned. It was a full price game, so this was a 10 quid game. I've only got 10 seconds. Oh, get out of the way, you. Oh, that's
so those cars that you're hitting, in theory, there's a quote from the author, each car has a different minimum and maximum speed depending upon which lane it's in. Do you remember those lane markers that were on the Spectrum version that aren't here? Right.
Yes.
Cars get more and more intelligent as the game progresses, and they twist and turn, and some try to deliberately get in your way.
This is the author of the
restrict overtaking on the straights.
Is this the Spectrum version you're referring to?
Yeah, so I'm quoting from an article that was in Advanced Computer Entertainment, ACE magazine, and it was an interview with the original author of the Spectrum version of the game.
Right, okay. Everyone hold on to your ears, because we're going to go again, I suppose. Am I waiting for Nancy to clear me? Do I have to... Oh, there we go. Something's happening.
What's happened there?
I think it's a multi-loader and it's failing to load, is what I'm observing.
Did you finish that level?
I finished that level, yeah.
Wow. Sorry, I was far too busy giving you interesting facts.
Well, yes, and I think the interesting facts were more interesting than the game. And Sleepy Eyes says, thanks for providing this educational service for his daughters. Right, okay. I tell you what, you're going to have a go at this. I don't want to play that again.
Okay, then. I'm happy to have a go at this. And,
happy to have a go.
Spank you on the Commodore 64 version.
Well, you can get to level 1 and then fail to progress beyond there by the looks of it. Let's get it loaded, though.
Okie dokie. Let's load it.
Okay, so we've got that loaded on Popey's 64
Did you use a
now.
joystick for this? What type of joystick did you use?
The mighty QuickShot 2 Turbo, because I found my adapter this morning. So
Is that one of these? One of these things?
yes, the Retronic.
The
Yeah,
serial to USB. The
Yeah.
past to the future adapter.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
There it goes.
Brace yourself, Popey.
Oh, bugger off, Nancy. I don't care.
Yeah, you don't need to listen. We know what we need to do.
I'm in the wrong gear.
So
This sounds like a Tesla.
it sounds. This is a game written in 1989. This was released at Christmas, and it was a full price game. And this looks, sounds, and plays like something from the very early years of the Commodore 64. This was published by Ocean. I think it's published by Ocean on the Spectrum and on the 64. And as a Commodore,
they had the license from Taito. Yeah.
As a Commodore 64 owner, Ocean was very much, variable quality. So
Were they mostly porting Spectrum stuff to the Commodore? 'Cause
Well,
they were mostly Spectrum first, I think.
they were one of the organisations that used to do this. This is clearly taking, art assets from the Spectrum version, right? But the use of the same colour mechanism is unforgivable. And the fact that that window is so constrained, I bet that gameplay window is the same resolution of the Spectrum.
I don't know.
But Ocean and US Gold were two organisations that used to do this, where, you'd get games that came out and they just looked like the Spectrum version on the 64, and they weren't playing to the strengths of the Commodore at all. And as a result, we talk about, I can remember, have you heard, Chase HQ, has had their license up for, 8-bit, and it's like, excellent, who's doing it? Ocean. And then it's like, oh, right, well, I'll wait and see then. There's no way anyone was going to purchase that, because they had some great stuff and they had some real rubbish, and this is definitely in the rubbish column.
It's slow, isn't it?
Isn't it terrible? I mean, do you feel like you're driving a car right now?
It feels like a hover car.
Yeah,
It doesn't
you don't
like
feel
I'm
connected to
actually
the road.
on the road.
Yeah.
No. And that's a hover ship in front of me. That doesn't look like a car at all.
Red
How
Falcon
is that
says
car?
that Amstrad's US Gold was also notorious for bad adaptations. Interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Bitten says he's got one of these adapters as well from a company called Joy Division. Thanks for that link, Bitten.
Did you post a link?
Yeah, Bitten, could you also put that in our Discord for us so we can find that later on? That sounds dead handy. I'd like to have a look at that.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
These Retronic adapters come from Canada. And Red Falcon says that Vigilante is the best example of a bad adaptation from US Gold.
I think we need to have at one point, we need to have a, worst game in a class or worst from publisher. And
Right.
have everyone suggest the worst possible game. And
start
it's
suggesting
taking
now if you
bloody
know of
ages.
some tragic, ports and conversions, or just not games. No, let's go with known.
What? How have I got
quantities.
time up? Jesus.
Oh, I got to the end of this level. That's interesting.
Well, have you noticed on the right-hand side, is that the distance thing?
That's the distance. Yeah.
So the red thing is me, and the green thing is me getting towards them.
Yeah.
Is that like me getting...
Yeah, you're red and yellow is them.
Fuck me.
And then distance in magenta at the bottom. So
Magenta,
Vigilante.
so.
I know of others, and I don't want to say what they are now, because it's possible that Popey's got some of these games on his list, and I don't want to give him clues as to where there
And
are
I'm totally
some...
going to choose...
Yeah, I know. If you
Yeah.
know that they're bad, but there are some. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the arcades.
Is that him?
Yep, that's him, because it's a white car. That's the one. This is one saving grace. It's the only thing
It's not so
they've
much
got
a
right.
car.
As just a collection of blocky pixels.
It is. It's pretty bloody awful.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
it is terrible. So
The road is as wide as these cars. It's
yeah.
awful.
Anyway, you were sharing some quotes earlier, and I thought it was for the developer of this Commodore version, but it wasn't. It was from the
No, it's from
the Spectrum version, and I therefore retract what I said earlier. Yes, they've clearly put some effort in there, and I can see why they put so much effort into the visuals. So the one thing I would say, looking at this now, is the police light effect at the top of the screen is actually quite good. I think that they probably used all of their development budget on that and then went down the pub and came back 8 months later and finished the rest of the game in an afternoon.
Someone actually drew that dashboard down the bottom. Someone actually drew that.
Yeah, and you say draw. I mean, it's really...
It's pretty bad.
It's just... There is very little about this I like. Very little.
Getting dangerously close to...
Oh, Richmond Mike, thanks very much for the raid. That's very good of you. For those of you that are joining this channel, we're 8-Bit Versus. What we do here is we pit classic 8-bit games for the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64 against one another to determine which system had the best games or which system was indeed the best. And at the moment, this game is Chase HQ, which we played on the Spectrum earlier, and now we're playing the Commodore 64 version. And basically, it's tragic. The Commodore 64 version is about one of the worst games I've seen on the 64. My name's Wimpy, and I am the Commodore 64 fan. Alan, who's playing at the moment, Popey, he's a Spectrum fan, and he chose this game, to be played. And on the Spectrum, it was actually quite good fun and enjoyable.
Someone record that. Clip that bit. Please
fine.
highlight that clip.
I mean, I can't. This is indefensibly bad. I mean, and it's not.
He's on fire.
It's not the Commodore 64's fault. It's like they didn't know the VIC chip and the SID chip existed in this thing. It's just hideous. And also, Ocean, who published this in the same year, published versions of Power Drift and Outrun Turbo for the Commodore 64, which were actually really good. Well done. Well done. A ripple of appreciation. Oh, hello, Retro Man Cave. Stop for... Yes, yeah, Retro Man Cave. The Specky version was lots better.
Christ, that was painful.
Yes. Shall we sum this one up?
Yes.
Because I think... I certainly can't. I can't put myself through that again. So, okay then. Did you have fun?
So I chose this because this was very much a game that I played in the arcade. As I said earlier, going into Aldershot, I would spend all my pocket money in the arcades every Saturday with my mates. And this one stood out because of I think it was the flashing cop lights on the top. And it was the one that I played was an upright with pedals and a steering wheel. And it had a good attract mode, and you wanted to play it. And then you get this voice synthesis from Nancy telling you to go and chase these guys down. And there was a helicopter swooping in. And so when the 8-bit version came out, I wanted it. And
I remember
on the Spectrum, it was great.
I remember the speakers behind your head in the sit-down arcade version being really loud. You know, it really sort of created a sense of atmosphere and urgency with the speech coming through and the sirens and everything. Yeah,
once the siren starts, you really want to chase them, don't you?
So yeah, this was a great game in the arcades. Like I said, I was playing the outright racers. I didn't put much money into this, but I was obviously very much aware of it at the time. So, what did you make of the Spectrum version then, having spent so much time playing in the arcades?
I was impressed at how much they got out of it, because driving games are hard, and I've seen plenty of other driving games on the Spectrum which have a really low frame rate, and it's really difficult to get that sense of curving roads and undulating roads and any sense of movement. It's like 1 frame a second. Whereas this, I actually felt, I was going up and down, there were jumps, there were corners I could take, and I felt it was worth playing, and I would go back and play it again.
Yeah, I think the Spectrum version is definitely, it conveys that sense of speed, even though the frame rate might be relatively low by today's standards. There felt like a sense of momentum, and I felt in control of the car, even though it may not have looked like it with the regularity in which I was smashing into everything except the perpetrator.
But I think that's like part of the problem with some of these games is you need to play it like a dozen times to get the pattern and get the knack of getting round those cars and knowing what they're going to do. And yeah, sometimes they jump out and bite your car.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can be skilled enough to get around them. And I think once you played it a few times, I mean, we both managed to get past stage 1.
I didn't on the Spectrum.
Well, no, but you did on the Commodore.
Yeah, I did on the Commodore. I think the Commodore's easier to smash the Perpetrator car up. That Commodore game is trash. That is just awful. I can't defend it. I mean, I'm not even going to try. We've had some close calls in the games that we've put head to head so far in this series, but you know that it's indefensibly bad. That is just a terrible game. If I was to play this again, it would be the Spectrum version without a doubt.
And on that bombshell, yeah, I agree completely. Yeah. No more said. So thank you all for watching this little glimpse of Chase HQ from Christmas bestseller 30 years ago. Can you believe it?
Mm-hmm. Well, on the Spectrum, I
can. Oh dear. So that's the end of this game. The next game, I think you're choosing, aren't you?
It's my choice, the next video, yeah, and that will be up in about 5 or 10 minutes. We'll after this one finishes, we'll start the next one in 5 or 10 minutes.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, everyone. You can follow us in all the usual places as 8-Bit Versus, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, everywhere. We also have a Discord. Drop by, say hello. Suggest games that we could play.
Really do.
I'm keen to hear about games that you think are better on the Spectrum than they were on the Commodore 64. Martin will now lie to you. Over to you, Martin.
Well, I don't need the assistance bit because I have such a huge catalogue of amazing games that were obviously better on the 64 than the Spectrum, and I think this is the first win for the Spectrum this evening.
Awesome. All right.
I'll correct that in the next video.